The galaxy mocked Earth's lone ship, until it arrived. The stars looked different from space. Jack Hayes pressed his hand against the viewport of the USS Dauntless and watched Earth shrink behind them. After 3 years of preparation, humanity's first and only faster-than-light ship was finally leaving home. Still saying goodbye? Captain Alan Wright's voice came from behind him. Jack turned and straightened his uniform. Just taking it all in, sir. We all are. The captain nodded. First humans to travel beyond our solar system. History in the making. Jack followed Captain Wright to the bridge where the crew worked at their stations. The ship hummed with energy as they prepared for their first jump. 30 men and women represented all of humanity on this mission. The weight of that responsibility sat heavy on Jack's shoulders. Susan Miller looked up from the engineering console. Her eyes were tired from 3 days of final checks, but she smiled when she saw the captain. "Engine systems are ready, sir. We can jump whenever you give the order." What Susan didn't say was that many of those systems shouldn't exist yet. 6 years ago, a small alien scout ship had crashed in the Arizona desert. The pilot died before anyone could speak with him, but the ship remained mostly intact. Susan had been part of the team that studied it in secret. What they learned changed everything. The aliens called themselves the Zinthari. They were part of something called the Galactic Council. Thousands of space-traveling species that had formed an alliance centuries ago. Earth wasn't invited. According to the data they recovered, humans were considered too primitive, too violent, and too unpredictable to join. 3 months after the crash, representatives from the council arrived. They explained that they had come to recover their scout and to officially acknowledge Earth as a developing world. The tall, blue-skinned Zinthari diplomat spoke perfect English and smiled a lot, but his eyes showed only pity when he looked at Earth's technology. "Your species shows promise," he had told the United Nations Assembly. "In perhaps 200 or 300 years you may be ready to join us among the stars." What the Zinthari didn't know was that Susan had already copied and studied much of their technology. She found ways to adapt it using Earth materials, ways the aliens had never considered. "Navigation is set for the Epsilon sector," announced Diane Clark from her communication station. "That's where the nearest council outpost is located." Greg Phillips, the tactical officer, looked nervous. "Are we sure this is a good idea?" The council made it clear they don't think we're ready. "They don't expect us for at least another century." Captain Wright replied with a small smile. Imagine their surprise. The bridge crew laughed, but Jack noticed the tension underneath. They all knew the risk. If Susan's adaptations failed, they could be stranded in deep space or worse. "Council ships are at least 10 times our size," Paul Martinez, the first officer, pointed out, "and their weapons are generations ahead of ours." "We're not looking for a fight," Captain Wright reminded him. "This is a diplomatic mission. We're here to introduce ourselves properly and prove we deserve a seat at the table." Karen Russell, the science officer, looked up from her screens. "The Zinthari ambassador called us promising primitives to my face. They think we're children playing with technology we don't understand." "Maybe we are," Jack said quietly. "But children grow up." The captain took his seat in the command chair. "We have our orders. Earth needs allies, resources, and protection. The galaxy is bigger and more dangerous than anyone imagined. We can't wait centuries for an invitation." He pressed the ship-wide communication button. "Attention all crew. This is Captain Wright. In 5 minutes we will activate our FTL drive and leave our solar system. We carry with us the hopes and dreams of every person on Earth. Many doubted this day would come. Many more, including our new galactic neighbors, believe we will fail." He paused, looking around at his crew. "They're wrong. Humanity has always pushed boundaries. We've always reached for the impossible. Today we take our place among the stars, not because someone decided we were ready, but because we decided for ourselves." Jack felt pride swell in his chest as the captain continued. "Each of you was chosen because you represent the best of humanity. Your courage, your intelligence, your creativity, and your determination will carry us through whatever challenges lie ahead. Remember, we're not just explorers, we're ambassadors for our entire species." Susan's fingers flew across her console as she made final adjustments to the engine systems. What she had told the captain and the rest of the crew was only part of the truth. The modifications she made went far beyond simply copying Zinthari technology. She had found flaws in their designs, inefficiencies they had accepted for generations. She fixed them. FTL drive charging, she announced. 80%, 90%, ready for jump, Captain. Outside the viewports, the stars seemed to hold their breath. Somewhere out there, thousands of alien civilizations went about their business, unaware that humans were about to join them. What do you think they'll say when we show up? Diane asked. They'll laugh, Greg said bluntly. I intercepted some of their communications. They call us monkeys in metal boxes. They've got bets on how far we'll get before our ship falls apart. Jack frowned. Then they're in for a surprise. Captain Wright settled back in his chair. Ladies and gentlemen, let's make history. Engage FTL drive. Susan pressed the activation sequence. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ship shuddered. The stars outside stretched into lines of light. A sound like thunder rolled through the hull. Jack gripped his console as the Dauntless seemed to compress and expand at the same time. Then suddenly, calm. The view screen showed unfamiliar stars against the blackness of space. Jump complete, Susan announced, her voice steady despite the sweat on her forehead. All systems functioning normally. The bridge erupted in cheers. They had done it, the first faster-than-light jump in human history, Captain Wright allowed. The celebration for a full minute before raising his hand for quiet. Excellent work, everyone, but this is just the beginning. We have 6 months of travel ahead of us before we reach Outpost Epsilon. Jack checked his instruments. The ship had performed better than anyone expected. Susan's modifications had worked perfectly. But as he looked at the vast emptiness surrounding them, he wondered what waited for them at the end of their journey. They would find out soon enough. Earth's lone ship had taken its first step into a much larger universe, and nothing would ever be the same. The galaxy mocked Earth's lone ship until it arrived. Part 26 months passed in the darkness of space. The USS Dauntless moved steadily toward Outpost Epsilon, a massive space station where hundreds of alien species conducted trade and diplomacy. For the 30 humans aboard, each day brought new challenges and discoveries. Jack Hayes stood next to Diane Clark at the communication station as they intercepted transmissions from nearby ships. The universal translator struggled with some of the alien languages, but the meaning was clear enough. They know we're coming, Diane said, her face flushing. They're talking about us. Jack leaned closer to read the translated text scrolling across her screen. Most of it wasn't flattering. Primitive vessel. Doomed mission. Monkeys in a tin can. The aliens were placing bets on how long the humans would survive. Don't let it bother you, Jack told her, though it bothered him too. We knew this wouldn't be easy. Captain Wright entered the bridge looking tired but determined. The long journey had been hard on everyone. 3 engine malfunctions, a life support scare, and countless small problems had tested the crew's resourcefulness. Each time, they had adapted and overcome. Status report, the captain said, settling into his command chair. We're receiving. Talking instructions from Outpost Epsilon, Diane replied. They sound surprised we made it this far. Susan Miller arrived from engineering, her uniform stained with coolant fluid. Engine systems are stable, Captain. The modifications are holding better than expected. Good. Captain Wright nodded. We'll need everything working perfectly for our grand entrance. He turned to the view screen where a distant light was growing larger. Let's show them what Earth can do. As they approached, Outpost Epsilon filled the view screen. It was enormous. At least 20 times the size of the largest space station Earth had built. The structure reminded Jack of a massive wheel with spokes extending from a central hub. Hundreds of ships of various sizes and shapes moved around it like bees around a hive. My God, Greg Phillips whispered from the tactical station. Look at those vessels. Some of them could swallow our entire ship. Susan studied the readings on her console. The energy outputs are incredible. That station generates more power than all of North America. And now it's our turn to dock, Captain Wright said. Diane, acknowledge their instructions. Tell them the USS Dauntless requests permission to approach. Jack watched the alien ships carefully as they navigated closer to the station. Most kept their distance as if afraid the human vessel might explode at any moment. Their sensors would be scanning the Dauntless, analyzing its technology and capabilities. Let them look, Jack thought. They'll see what we want them to see. The docking went smoother than expected. Mechanical arms extended from the station and guided the Dauntless into a berth designed for much larger vessels. With a soft shudder, the ship locked into place. We've successfully docked, Paul Martinez announced. Environmental readings show the atmosphere in the docking area is compatible with human biology, but the gravity is slightly lower than Earth. Standard. Captain Wright stood and straightened his uniform. Time to meet our neighbors. Jack, Paul, Karen, Susan, you're with me. Greg, you have the bridge. The station's artificial gravity felt strange under Jack's feet as they stepped through. The airlock. The air smelled different too. Not unpleasant, but full of unfamiliar scents. The docking bay stretched farther than he could see, with ships of every imaginable design. A delegation waited for them. 3 tall, blue-skinned Zinthari led the group, along with 4 other alien species Jack didn't recognize. One looked like a giant insect. Another had no visible eyes or mouth, just smooth skin that rippled with changing colors. The tallest Zinthari stepped forward. I am Vorex, administrator of this sector of Outpost Epsilon. His voice was perfectly translated through the devices the humans carried. We welcome you, though we must express our surprise at your premature arrival. Captain Wright offered the human gesture of a handshake, which Vorex awkwardly accepted. Captain Alan Wright of Earth's USS Dauntless. We appreciate your welcome. Administrator Vorex. The Zinthari's 4-fingered hand withdrew quickly. Your vessel's construction is interesting. Our sensors detected several anomalies in your propulsion system. Susan smiled politely. We've made some innovations. The insect-like alien clicked something that the translators rendered as laughter. Innovations. The primitive species believes it has improved upon Council technology. Jack felt his face grow hot, but Captain Wright remained calm. We're eager to learn from the Council's vast experience, and perhaps in time to contribute our own ideas. The aliens exchanged glances. The eyeless one's skin rippled from blue to yellow. Of course, all species have something to offer, eventually. Vorex gestured toward a wide corridor. We have prepared accommodations for your visit. The Council representatives are curious about Earth. They have many questions about your world and your unusual approach to technological development. As they walked, Jack noticed how other beings stopped to stare at the humans. Some pointed and whispered to companions. Others moved away, as if humans might be dangerous or carry disease. They're afraid of us, Karen Russell whispered. Not afraid, Paul replied quietly. They're amused. We're a curiosity. The central hall of the outpost was breathtaking. The ceiling arched hundreds of feet above them, decorated with moving lights that resembled stars. Thousands of aliens moved through the space, conducting business and diplomacy. Shops and offices lined the walls, offering goods and services from across the galaxy. In the center stood a massive holographic display showing hundreds of star systems. Jack recognized Earth's solar system on the outer edge, marked with a designation that translated roughly to Developing Region Limited Contact. Your species has been added to the Galactic Registry, Vorex explained, noticing Jack's interest. Though you are still classified as a Category 3 civilization, technologically limited, politically unstable, and potentially aggressive. Potentially aggressive? Susan asked. The Zinthari's expression was unreadable. Your history suggests a tendency toward conflict. Captain Wright remained diplomatic. Every species has its challenges. We're working to overcome ours. Indeed, that takes time. Usually centuries. Vorex gestured to a group of aliens watching from a distance. Many are curious about humans. Your appearance is similar to several other mammalian species, though your intellectual development pattern is unusual. Jack realized the administrator was trying to be polite. but the condescension was unmistakable. To these advanced civilizations, humans were children who had wandered into an adult conversation. "We understand we have much to learn, Captain," Wright said carefully, "but we hope to prove we're quick students." As the humans followed Vorex deeper into the station, Karen discreetly activated a small device in her pocket. It would record and analyze everything around them: security systems, technology, alien physiology. Information Earth desperately needed. "Tomorrow you will meet with the Sector Council," Vorex told them. "They will evaluate your species' potential for further integration into the galactic community." "We look forward to it," Captain Wright replied. Jack caught Susan's eye as they walked. She gave him a small smile and a nod. The aliens might mock Earth's lone ship, but they had no idea what humanity was truly capable of. Tomorrow would be just the beginning. The galaxy mocked Earth's lone ship, until it arrived. Part 3. The meeting with the Sector Council did not go well. Captain Wright and his senior officers sat at a round table surrounded by representatives from 12 alien species. The questions were polite but carried hidden insults. The council members spoke slowly as if talking to children. They asked about Earth's primitive nuclear power and laughed when Susan tried to explain human engineering principles. "Your species shows remarkable confidence," said a Zinthari scientist, her blue skin shimmering under the bright lights. "But confidence is not the same as capability." Jack Hayes watched Captain Wright maintain his calm, diplomatic smile. The captain had expected this treatment. They all had. But experiencing it firsthand was different. "We understand your concerns," Captain Wright replied. "Earth is new to the galactic community. We only ask for a chance to prove ourselves." The council granted the dauntless crew limited access to the station. They could visit public areas and attend basic cultural exchanges. Advanced technology sections were forbidden. Trading was restricted to simple items. The message was clear: humans were not ready for more. 2 days later, everything changed. Jack was eating lunch with Susan and Karen in a station cafeteria when Diane's voice came through their communicators. "All senior officers return to the ship immediately. Emergency situation." They ran back to the Dauntless, pushing through crowds of curious aliens. On the bridge, Diane was listening to a transmission, her face pale. Greg stood beside her, all ready. "Checking weapon systems, what's happening?" Jack asked as Captain Wright entered behind them. Diane turned to face them. "A Zinthari passenger liner is in trouble. The Celestial Dream. It carries over 2,000 civilians." She pressed a button, and a distress call played on the speakers. A panicked alien voice spoke rapidly until the translator caught up. "Complete. System failure. Life support failing. We are trapped in the Veil. Cannot escape. Please help. Anyone who can hear this, please help us." Captain Wright frowned. "The Veil? A region of space about 6 hours from here," Karen explained. "It's known for unusual energy patterns that interfere with most ship systems. Most vessels avoid it. I've been studying the station's star charts." "Where are the Council emergency vessels?" Paul asked. Diane shook her head. "The closest ones are 3 days away. By then," she didn't need to finish. Everyone understood. What would happen if a ship lost life support for 3 days? "Can we help them?" Captain Wright asked. "Do we have the capability?" Susan bit her lip. "The Celestial Dream is 8 times our size. Our transporters can't handle that many people at once, and if we go into the Veil, our systems might fail too." "Might," Jack noted. "You don't sound certain." Susan looked up, her eyes suddenly bright with an idea. "Our engines work on different principles than the Council ships. The modifications I made..." She paused. "Captain, their technology follows strict Council designs. Every ship is built the same way, but ours isn't." "Are you saying we might be immune to the Veil's effects?" Captain Wright asked. "Not immune," Susan replied, "but possibly more resistant. My designs were considered backward by Council standards. I had to work around limitations with Earth materials. I took shortcuts they would never consider." Captain Wright didn't hesitate. "Plot a course for the Veil. We're going to help." "Sir," Greg said. The Council specifically ordered us to remain at the station. I'm aware of the order, Lieutenant. The captain's voice was firm. But there are 2,000 lives at risk. Humans don't abandon people in need, not even aliens who mock us. As the Dauntless prepared to leave, Administrator Vorex's face appeared on the main screen. Captain Wright, you are not authorized to depart. Your vessel is neither equipped nor approved for rescue operations. We're the only ship that can reach them in time, Captain Wright replied. We have to try. Your primitive vessel will be destroyed in the Veil, Vorex insisted. This is not bravery, it is foolishness. Then we'll die foolishly, the captain said, and cut the transmission. The Dauntless broke away from the station and accelerated to full speed. Jack monitored the navigation systems while Susan made continuous adjustments to the engines. Karen analyzed all available data on the Veil. Paul coordinated with the rest of the crew, preparing for whatever they might find. 5 hours later, they reached the edge of the Veil. It didn't look dangerous, just a section of space where the stars seemed slightly dimmer, the darkness a little deeper. Sensors are already showing interference, Karen reported. If we go in, we might not be able to find our way out again. The Celestial Dream is sending out a pulse beacon, Diane said. It's weak, but I can track it. Captain Wright looked at each of his officers. I won't order anyone into this. The risk is too great, and the aliens are right. We don't know what we're doing. This isn't our technology or our people. They're people, Jack said simply. That's enough, the others nodded. Then take us in, Mr. Hayes, the captain ordered. Slow and steady. As the Dauntless entered the Veil, the lights flickered. Static filled the communication channels. The ship shuddered as if passing through rough water. Main power fluctuating, Susan reported, switching to backup systems. Jack fought with the controls as they became sluggish and unresponsive. Warning lights flashed across his console. Navigation is failing. I can't maintain course. Keep following the beacon, Captain Wright ordered. However you can. Susan's fingers flew across her console. Captain, I think I can reroute power through the experimental circuits. It might stabilize our systems. Do it. Susan ran to the engineering station and pulled open a panel. She connected wires that were never meant to be connected, bypassing safety protocols. This violates about 50 engineering principles, she muttered. But it might work. The ship lurched, then steadied. The lights brightened. Jack felt the controls respond again. Whatever you did, it's working, he told Susan. We're moving forward again. Don't celebrate yet, she replied. This is a temporary fix. I don't know how long it will hold. After 20 minutes of careful navigation, they spotted the Celestial Dream. The massive passenger liner drifted helplessly in the void, most of its lights dark. Only emergency beacons still functioned. Life signs? Captain Wright asked. Karen checked her readings. Multiple life forms detected, but life support is failing deck by deck. They have maybe 4 hours left. Hail them. Diane opened a channel. Synthari vessel Celestial Dream, this is the Earthship Dauntless. We're here to help. A disbelieving voice answered. Human vessel? How did you reach us? How are your systems still functioning? We're stubborn, Captain Wright replied. And we have a very talented engineer. Prepare for emergency docking. We're going to get you out of here. As the Dauntless moved closer to the stricken liner, Jack could see the challenge ahead. The human ship was tiny compared to the Zinthari vessel. Rescuing everyone would require multiple trips, precise navigation, and luck. Captain Wright stood from his chair. This won't be easy, but we're going to make it happen. The galaxy may mock Earth's lone ship, but today they'll see what we can do. The galaxy mocked Earth's lone ship. Until it arrived, Part 4 docking with the Celestial Dream proved nearly impossible. The standard connection ports wouldn't work because the Dauntless was too small for the Zinthari ship's massive docking bays. The Veil's energy disrupted automatic systems, and the Zinthari crew had no experience with manual docking procedures. We need another solution, Captain Wright said as they hovered near the crippled liner. Greg studied the tactical display. What if we create a temporary airlock? We have emergency hull patches that can form a seal. Between ships of such different sizes, Paul asked doubtfully. It's not standard procedure, Greg admitted. But nothing about this situation is standard. Captain. Wright nodded. Make it happen, Lieutenant. Greg gathered a team and suited up for a spacewalk. Jack watched on the view screen as they pushed off from the Dauntless, carrying equipment across the void to the larger ship. The Zinthari crew opened a maintenance hatch, and together the two species began constructing an improvised connection tube. Inside the Dauntless, Susan worked frantically to keep the engine stable. The veil is affecting our systems more than I expected, she told Captain Wright. We have maybe 3 hours before critical failure. The Zinthari ship has less time than that, Karen added. Their life support is failing deck by deck. We need to move faster, the captain decided. How many people can we transport at once? Paul checked the calculations. With every available space, including cargo holds, maybe 100. That means 20 trips to evacuate everyone. Too slow, Jack said. We need a way to stabilize their ship or extend our protection to them. Susan looked up sharply. Wait. The modifications I made to our engines create a kind of stability field. That's why we can function in the veil. What if we extend that field? Is that possible? Captain Wright asked. In theory, Susan replied. I'd need to reconfigure our main deflector to project the field. It would weaken our own protection, but it might buy the Zinthari ship more time. Do it. While Susan worked on the deflector, Greg's team completed the makeshift airlock. It wasn't pretty, a patchwork tube of emergency materials held together with sealant, but it created a passageway between the ships. The first Zinthari passengers began evacuating to the Dauntless. They looked scared and confused. Many had never seen a human before. The alien children stared with wide eyes at the strange pink creatures helping them. Their life support is stabilizing on the upper decks, Karen reported as Susan's modified deflector came online. Your field is working. Over the next hour, they managed to evacuate 300 people, but progress was slow. The improvised airlock could only handle a few people at a time, and the Zinthari moved cautiously through the unfamiliar human ship. Then the communication system failed completely. The veil is intensifying, Karen warned. Some kind of energy surge. Diane tried every frequency but got only static. We've lost contact with the Celestial Dream. I can't reach them. Captain Wright paced the bridge. We need to coordinate the evacuation. Without communication, I can fix this, Diane said suddenly. The Council ships use quantum entanglement for their primary communications. That's why they're failing in the veil. But we still have simple radio transmitters on board. Old technology, but it might cut through the interference. Radio? Jack asked. That's ancient technology. Exactly, Diane smiled. So ancient it might work when nothing else does. The veil disrupts advanced systems, but basic radio waves should penetrate. She hurried to a storage locker and retrieved emergency equipment that hadn't been used since training on Earth. The simple radio transmitter looked primitive compared to the ship's main communication array, but Diane connected it confidently. Celestial Dream, this is Dauntless. Do you read me? Over. She repeated the message several times. Finally, a crackling response came through. We hear you. Barely. Our systems failing. Lower decks flooding with radiation. They can't evacuate the lower decks, Diane translated for the bridge crew. The radiation will kill anyone who tries. Greg, who had returned from the spacewalk, studied the ship schematics they had received. There's a secondary control room on Deck 5. If someone could reach it, they might be able to activate the emergency containment fields. The Zinthari. Crew can't get there, Karen pointed out. The corridors between are flooded with radiation. Jack looked at the captain. Our spacesuits have better radiation protection than their environmental gear. We could reach the control room. Captain, Wright considered this. It's too dangerous. I won't order anyone to... I volunteer, Jack interrupted. Me too, Greg said. The captain looked at them both for a long moment, then nodded. Be careful, both of you. The two officers suited up and crossed through the makeshift airlock. Inside, the Celestial Dream Emergency lights cast eerie shadows. Frightened aliens moved toward the evacuation point while Jack and Greg pushed against the flow, heading deeper into the ship. They reached a sealed door marked with Zinthari warning symbols. Beyond it lay the radiation zone. Greg checked the radiation meter on his suit. The levels are high, but our suits should protect us for about 20 minutes. After that, then we'd better be quick, Jack said, and opened the door. They moved through deserted corridors following directions provided by the Zinthari crew. The ship groaned around them as systems failed. Twice they had to detour around collapsed sections. Jack's radiation meter climbed steadily toward the danger zone. Finally, they reached the secondary control room. The Zinthari technology was unfamiliar, but the Celestial Dream's executive officer had described the emergency systems in detail. There, Greg pointed to a panel with a distinctive blue sphere. That's the containment control. Jack pressed his hand against the scanner, but nothing happened. It requires Zinthari DNA. Greg examined the panel and found a manual override. Together they turned the heavy mechanism until warning lights flashed across the board. A low hum built around them as containment fields activated. "Dauntless, this is Hayes," Jack called through the radio. "Containment fields are active. Is it working?" Diane's voice came back, broken with static. "Radiation levels dropping. Evacuation resuming on lower decks." As they made their way back, Jack noticed his suit's radiation warning was flashing. Red. They had stayed too long. Both of them had absorbed dangerous levels of radiation, but the job was done. When they returned to the Dauntless, medical staff rushed them to sickbay for emergency treatment. Through waves of nausea and pain, Jack heard reports of the evacuation continuing. The Zinthari passengers crowded every available space on the human vessel. Captain Wright visited them in sickbay. "The doctor says you'll recover, but it was close." He squeezed Jack's shoulder. "What you did was incredibly brave." "What about the evacuation?" Greg asked weakly. "Over half the passengers are aboard now," the captain told them. "Susan's field is holding, but our systems are starting to fail. It's going to be close." Jack tried to sit up but couldn't. "The council ships? Still more than a day away." The captain smiled grimly. "It's just us doing the impossible. The usual." As consciousness faded, Jack thought about the Zinthari, who had mocked humans as primitives. He wondered what they would say, now seeing Earth's lone ship doing what their advanced vessels could not. The galaxy mocked Earth's lone ship. Until it arrived. Part 5. Jack woke in the medical bay 3 days later. His body ached, but the worst of the radiation sickness had passed. Greg lay in the next bed, already sitting up and eating. "Welcome back," Greg said. "You missed all the excitement." "What happened?" Jack asked, his voice rough. Before Greg could answer, Captain Wright entered with Susan and Karen. The captain looked exhausted but pleased. "Good to see you awake, Commander," Captain Wright said. "You've been out for quite a while." Jack tried to sit up. "The Celestial Dream, the passengers?" "All safe," the captain assured him. "It was close. Our systems were failing when the council ships finally arrived, but everyone made it out." "We're heroes," Greg added with a grin. "At least for now." Susan sat on the edge of Jack's bed. "The Zinthari can't figure out how we did it. Their scientists have been examining our engine modifications for 2 days." "Where are we?" Jack asked, noticing the steady hum of the engines. "On our way back to Outpost Epsilon," Karen explained, "with an escort of council vessels. Very respectful escort," she added with a smile. As Jack recovered, he heard the full story. After he and Greg had activated the containment fields, the evacuation had continued at a frantic pace. The Dauntless was packed beyond capacity with alien refugees when 3 council rescue ships finally arrived. They found the small Earth vessel, towing the massive liner out of the Veil, a feat their engineers claimed was impossible. A week later, Jack stood with the rest of the senior officers in the Grand Council chamber of Outpost Epsilon. The room was packed with representatives from dozens of species. Administrator Vorex presided from a raised platform. "We have called this special session to recognize the actions of the Earth vessel Dauntless," Vorex announced. His tone was formal, but Jack detected a new note of respect. Their intervention saved 2,164 lives aboard the Celestial Dream. The chamber erupted in the various sounds that different species used to show approval. Some clicked, others hummed, a few stamped appendages against the floor. Captain Alan Wright, Vorex continued. The Council acknowledges that your actions, while contrary to our direct orders, demonstrated exceptional courage and resourcefulness. Captain Wright stepped forward. We only did what any sentient beings would do when others were in danger. A Zinthari scientist rose from her seat. With respect, Captain, that is not accurate. No other available vessel could have entered the Veil and survived. Your engineer's modifications to standard drives created a stability field our vessels cannot duplicate. Susan blushed as attention turned to her. The modifications were based on principles we developed on Earth. Sometimes limited resources force creative solutions. Indeed. The scientist inclined her head. The Council formally requests access to your engineering principles. There is much we can learn from each other. Jack could hardly believe what he was hearing. A week ago, these same aliens had laughed at human technology. Now they wanted to learn from it. One by one, Council members spoke about the rescue operation. They praised Greg's improvised airlock design, Diane's use of basic radio when advanced communications failed, and Jack and Greg's mission to activate the containment fields. Each primitive solution that had saved lives was now recognized as innovative thinking. The Council has voted to reclassify Earth, Vorex announced finally. You are now designated as a Category 2 civilization with special dispensation for interstellar travel and trade. Captain Wright bowed slightly. We appreciate the recognition. Earth looks forward to greater cooperation with the Galactic Council. There is one more matter, Vorex added. The captain of the Celestial Dream wishes to speak. An elderly Zinthari stepped forward, his blue skin pale from his ordeal. I commanded the Celestial Dream for 60 years, he said, his voice wavering. In all that time, I believed that the Council's way was the only way. I believed that younger species had nothing to teach us. He looked directly at the human officers. I was wrong. When your small vessel appeared in the Veil, I thought it was a hallucination. When your crew boarded my ship, facing radiation that would kill them, I could not understand such sacrifice for strangers. When your engineer extended your protection to my vessel, doing what our greatest scientists claimed was impossible, I finally understood. The old captain's voice strengthened. Progress comes not just from refining what we know, but from questioning it, from seeing problems with fresh eyes. Humanity may be young, but you have much to teach us. The ceremony concluded with the formal exchange of diplomatic credentials. Earth was now officially recognized as a member of the galactic community, not just a developing world to be monitored. As they returned to the Dauntless, Jack noticed alien engineers examining the ship with new interest. No one was laughing now. They're calling it the Dauntless Effect, Karen told them, reading from her datapad. It's spreading across the galactic network. Species are questioning standard designs, trying new approaches. All because we were too primitive to know better, Susan said with a grin. Captain Wright gathered his officers on the bridge. The Council has authorized us to continue our mission. We'll visit 3 more outposts before returning to Earth. With escorts? Paul asked, nodding toward the Zinthari vessels visible through the viewports. Not escorts, the captain corrected. Students. They want to observe how we operate, how we think. Jack took his position at navigation. The display showed their path, ahead, deeper into the galaxy than any human had gone before. Earth was just one tiny point of light among billions, but its influence was spreading. Course laid in, Captain, he reported. Ready when you are. Captain Wright settled into his chair. Take us out, Mr. Hayes. We have a galaxy to explore. As the Dauntless pulled away from the station, Jack thought about how quickly things had changed. 1 month ago, the galaxy had mocked Earth's lone ship. Now they watched in silence, wondering what the humans would do next. Some still believed humanity was too young, too reckless for the stars. Perhaps they were right. But Jack knew something the aliens were just beginning to understand. Sometimes being different was the greatest advantage of all. The Dauntless accelerated to FTL speed, carrying Earth's representatives into the unknown. Behind them, they left. Not mockery, but respect, and a galaxy forever changed by humanity's arrival.